everyone, the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom here. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell notifications down below if you haven't already.
Hey folks, Kevin here, back at the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom back there. Hopefully still a little wisdom up here. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today as I'm, again, evolving more through this process and sort of paying attention to, that mic's right up in my face, sort of paying attention to, I suppose paying attention less to the community at large and just focusing more in on my journey and what is aligning with me and what isn't. And I didn't really, I suppose when I first started out on this journey, when, I was guilty of looking at tarot readings, I was guilty of, really sucking in this concept and idea that this is the person, this is my twin flame, this is, written in the cards, they're supposed to be with me, et cetera, et cetera. I never really gave a lot of, I suppose, credence to the fact that there is so much content out there that I am finding to be more and more part of the negative side of this journey, and I see it more as a distraction from yourself to kind of create you, or not create you, to keep you fixated on something that I don't really think we've got a lot of control over, if any control over for that matter. And that is the idea that this is the person we're supposed to end up with. And a few weeks ago, and I don't think it was last week, I think it was the week before, and everything's kind of rammed together at this point in time since things have been changing so quickly and energies have been pretty intense the last few days and last weeks for that matter. And it was about the time that I did the cord cutting when I found out, or not found out, when it came to me that my former partner was just sort of a karmic to kind of kick me down this road and this path of a spiritual awakening journey, which this definitely is. And I did a very visual, very vivid, in fact, meditation about cord cutting. It's something I do kind of believe in, and I just wanted to help kind of shift my energy into a different direction, take ownership of the loss, take ownership of the fact that I do have a little bit more control over and say in this than I had thought I did, and more so just sort of begin the process of ridding my mind of the constant thinking about this person in a false sense that they are something that quite foreseeably I have no idea if that is true or it isn't. And again, this is just, the more I learn about this, and some people again are going to say, well, duh, Kevin, that's what we've been saying all along. I know I'm a slow student at times when it comes to this, and I really did lean on the romantic aspect of it, that she just might be it. And I didn't really realize at the time how much that is just setting me up for constant failure. And now, since I've detached myself from that aspect to a very large degree, granted, still have some thoughts about her, and I'll share an area that I really have to work on too here in a second. But when I now go back and look at all of the twin soul stuff that is online, I don't know, like it aggravates me on a level that I can see through it as to what it does to people that are holding on to the false idea of false hope with this. There might be a small percentage of people that do get back together. Could that have been a random coincidence or anything of that nature? I can't say yes or no to it, but I think for the vast majority of us, it's a humbling thing to admit, but I think we need to admit it, that we don't know. And there might be somebody much better along down the road. Now, I do believe in the aspect that I think we attract who we are inside. And when I look more at the old vibrational match of myself, it's kind of no wonder that I attracted this person. And we both have some things that we mirror to one another in a huge way that we need to work on, which is great, because those are things that I need to work on as a person. But at the same time, to imply, and you see some of the storylines that, oh, if I'm working on myself, then that means that they're working on themselves. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And if I am working on myself, why would I hold myself hostage to a person that isn't up here? Why would I wait around for that when the universe could be offering me something far better and far greater? And I look at it this way: putting in the work to get to a brand new place in my life, that old person isn't going to matter. And I'm really starting to see that now more than I ever have before. And that it's a very good feeling. Now I'm going to talk about here in an area where I'm still struggling to detach from. Um, I'm getting away from and I talked about this in the last video, I'm starting to really get away from the old angry conversations I would have if I ever ran into her or anything like that. Like, I'm beginning to do that, really, that where I say it to myself the second it comes up in my head: do not react. The universe is, or God is preparing a special person for me down the road. Do not react. Do not react. And it really helps kind of take me back. But there's an area, though, that I'm so guilty of still, of where she pops into the picture. And it's anytime I think of something like me somewhere in the future, she's standing next to me yet. I, I got to work on that shit, and I'm not necessarily sure how to push that one away. But I didn't notice that before until now, since I'm disconnecting from that mental chatter. Now I have the visions in my head of us together down the road, and I'm going to struggle with this one for a second because I'm not necessarily sure what I need to tune into just yet to just have, why can't it be a vision of just me standing on a beach? Why the hell do I got to have her next to me? I don't. I don't. And that too is part of this healing process, I think, as well, is just getting out of my head things that just aren't real. And I want to read a quote to you that I had read. You poison yourself slowly when you consistently hold space for those who aren't holding the same space for you. There is nothing fulfilling, and I got two screens here, that's why I'm looking over here. So there is nothing fulfilling about unrequited energy. Reciprocation isn't everything, but you deserve to feel the waves you give off come back to you from time to time. And that is exactly what I've been doing. That's exactly what I think a lot of us do, is we hold this empty space in our minds for this person that doesn't really exist anymore. They say breakups are like a death. To tell you the truth, after I did that cord cutting ceremony, I felt like it was a death of some sort. I was on the floor sobbing. I had a rough couple of days, and now I can slowly feel myself beginning to kind of ramp back up again in a good, positive way. I had messaged a person that I connected with, or one of the subscribers, and had just said, the energy today feels, it's neither, far left, far right. It feels really indifferent today. Like, just kind of not like a giant void, but it just like a real, just kind of steady. I don't know if there's no waves or anything like that. It's just a different kind of energy today. And so, yeah, you poison yourself slowly when you consistently hold space for those who aren't holding the same space for you. And if there is anything that represents this journey when we talk about this separation for people that are in no contact like I am, and even people that are in contact but are in a constant loop of frustration with their partner because of the reciprocity. They don't feel like the same thing's being given back that they're putting out. And that's a tough area, and I want to almost say dangerous area. It's dangerous, I think, more so dangerous for people that are holding space for people that aren't in contact with you at all, because you're holding on to a dream and a wish at that point and have no idea what the future holds. And it might delay that part of you that should be really working on yourself and your own individuality in those moments. And again, these are all things I'm discovering 6 months in here. And it's just, this is part of this process of this spiritual awakening. And the other kind of part I wanted to talk about in terms of it being a spiritual awakening is I see too on some of these other channels a lot of arrogance and about that, like, oh, I'm awakened, more awakened than they are. And it's like, that's, an awakened person doesn't speak like that. An awakened person is full of compassion. They're humble. They recognize people that aren't at your level and help bring that crowd up to your level. That's the whole fucking point of being spiritually awakened and enlightened. It isn't to walk around like you're holier than thou and better than people. That's textbook narcissism. Okay? This this is about becoming a vessel of love so you can echo that out into the world and help change the world because you've changed your inner world. That will reflect outwards onto people. But I see so many titles, chosen ones. We're 144,000. Like, would you take a head count? And how do you know you're one of them? It's come on. Let's just pump the brakes here and back off a little bit. All right. There's nothing chosen about this. I don't think, with the exception of we chose it. We're not some, deity that was given this gift. I don't think, and I just think we've reached a point, and collectively, the entire planet needs to really get its shit together, or we're not going to make it or survive. I kind of really think that that's the point. Where all of this cosmic energy comes from. I don't know. I'll know after I die. Then I'll let guys know then, and I'll have have a podcast up there from the next realm in 5D. But it's all of these things that just from a point of view here that I can't walk down that road with. Now I did a little bit in the beginning, probably a lot of it in the beginning, and I think that maybe that really bled into the loneliness aspect. I didn't want to feel like I was alone on this journey, so I congregated towards that. But again, that's part of this whole enlightenment thing or awakening thing, is finding your tribe, finding your people. And that's part of it. It's the discernment that we have to use to navigate through this, because I think there's a great lesson embedded in that. It's that active discernment. You are now able to decipher people that are genuine and people that aren't genuine. You'll be able to pick out in a moment of somebody that's in it for other people or if they're in it for themselves. And I would like everybody, myself included, to be in it for everyone, because at the end of the day, we're all helpers, right? We're all here to uplift people. We had our hearts broke. We had it smashed on and stepped and ran over, and we're trying to take a bad situation and turn it into something that could be great for a lot of people. But in order to do that, we can't sit there and self-isolate, both, up here in the mental, the physical. We've got to force ourselves to get out. And that'll bring me to my last point here, since we're already almost 13 minutes into this. The last time I worked was at a Taylor Swift event here in town, and I did security for it. It's a smaller venue. It's a 2,500 max capacity, but there were 1,400 Taylor Swift fans there. And when I say it was a Taylor Swift event, she wasn't there. It was a DJ that played Taylor Swift music for 3.5 hours. Yeah, I'm not a fan of hers. However, all 1,400 people there, 98% female. It was an 18 and up show, and I think 2% gay men. But they all knew every single song, screaming at the top of their lungs for 3 to 3.5 hours. And let me tell you, Kevin was exhausted. But let me tell you a beautiful thing that absolutely happened there. Two things, actually. One woman dropped a ring across the barricade where I was working, and I picked it up, and I actually went down on one knee, and I asked her if she'd marry me, and I put it on her hand. She was completely flattered, and of course the other women around her were like, oh my God. It was a pretty smooth move. I got to give myself credit for that one. The other thing, I didn't initiate, but we had a bunch of balloons there and people were smacking them over top of the barricade. So I handed one back towards the last song. And it was the song You Belong to Me, I think. Anyway, when I threw the thing over, she grabbed my hand at the beginning of the song and pulled me close to her and started singing to me. Now, I was kind of like uncomfortable, and I began to pull away, and she pulled me right back, and she sang the entire song to me. All of these people were watching, and I actually started to tear up. And at the end of the show, I went over and we had talked for a little bit, and I gave her a huge hug and thanked her. And I just had said that meant more to me than you'll ever know at this moment. And I didn't really tell her why, but at that moment, it was incredibly beautiful to be validated by somebody. And I don't know why she did that. I was one of two people working behind the barricade that day. At other concerts, when, you know, if there's mosh pits or anything like that, we'll obviously have a lot more people. But for a show like that, we just had two people, and I don't know, like it was, I actually began to tear up, and um, I don't know, it was a really cool moment that this young woman would have done that for no reason, the entire song, and sang it to me and looked like and stared into my eyes. It was something that, well, I've missed. Let me put it to you that way. But funky things kind of work out like that from time to time. So I thought I'd share that. Again, don't hold space for those people that aren't showing up in your life. Please do yourself that favor. It's taken me 6 months to kind of come to that realization, and all of you really should too. It's very true. We we've got enough going on in our lives. We've got enough healing to do on our own to worry about people that are not showing up in our life to help us along. Okay? Love you guys. Take care.